welcome everybody to our second of our series of lead conversion strategies. Are going to help you become obviously better lead converters with Colton and the main man, Robby T, who is the absolute master of lead conversion. So with that, guys, take it away.
Thank you, brother. Yeah, we've been seeing a lot of what we practice, and a lot of it's amazing how quickly we have to shift and how quickly we have to pivot. Mm-hmm. And what's really amazing is how long it takes agents to. It's like the stuff and the conversations that we were having. If you try to have those conversations with somebody today, you are going to lose them so unbelievably quickly, because bulldozing over somebody's emotions and making it seem as if their fears of today's market are invalid is the fastest, most guaranteed way you are going to lose somebody.
It's what we're seeing nationwide, right? Is there's still people, and if I can just rip for a minute, Colton, I kind of had like a going off moment last week in Salt Lake City. I spoke at the CSU event, and I basically said, y'all need to wake the hell up to what is coming. And I had people raise their hand, and people in this room are going to identify in two different camps. So there's going to be camp number one, which is people that have primarily played real estate since March of 2020. And y'all have been playing a fake game of real estate that wasn't real estate at all. It was this financially fueled FOMO where people were willing to buy a house regardless of the costs. The other camp are people that were playing real estate prior to this whole market shift, where you didn't really need skills. And Colton, I think the biggest thing that we need to iterate and teach people today is, if you want to still be a real estate team and you still want to be crushing it in real estate in a year, you have to master the game of influence. And in the last 2 years or so in real estate, influence was irrelevant, frankly. It was simply, can you pick up the phone? Because fish would jump in your boat, and it was super easy. That game is done. It is dead, and we'll never see it again. So my big goal today is to make sure that people have the schools and the mindset to regain those skills. Because even people like you, Colton, who have been playing the game longer, the reality is that when you go into a market when it's super easy, what happens to those quality skills of influence you had beforehand?
They get rusty.
They get rusty, and it gets creaky. And everybody's in one of these two camps. You are either rusty or you are a noob who has never played this game in real estate. You've never had to have the tough conversations. It is normal for people to have reluctance. It is normal for people to drag their feet. This is normal. We were just in a market where that wasn't, and that is never going to come back like we saw again. So, Colton, I'll kick it back to you.
I just first want to commend you on your usage of noob on the webinar. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. We got some noobs in here today.
I haven't heard noob in a while.
Video games, and we hear noob all the time.
And one of the things and we've been talking about it, and it's funny because we've been talking about it since March, and each month that has progressed, we try to get people to grasp the reality that we are all going to be facing here in our market. Our sales year over year are down 63%. As a market, the number of transactions in comparison to a year ago is down by 63%. Mm-hmm. And the formula to be successful in real estate is super simple. Have conversations, set appointments, meet appointments, write offers, open escrows, close escrows. That's right. The problem is, what we've been able to get away with is having a few conversations, setting a few appointments, meeting a few appointments, and having the conversions on those be remarkably high. And the ability to nurture and the ability to have an approach with the consumer that's not going to deter them from you. And this is the approach that everybody's using. Mm-hmm. And it's that we have to be nurturers. We have to be able to hold on to these people much, much longer than what we did in the past. And it's one thing that we've been working on at the team, because there's still really great qualified people out there. Absolutely. But each time these hikes happen, we lose half of the market and half of our pipeline. Mm-hmm. And then it just becomes a game of replenishing that pipeline as quickly as we can with people who are out there looking at homes today. Mm-hmm. And yes, there's far fewer of them out there. But if you're out there looking at a home today, it's probably because you really have to move. We always equate it to like when Russia invaded Ukraine. If you were looking at flights to go visit Ukraine right after those headlines, it's probably because you are absolutely going to the Ukraine. It's not because it was sexy and fun for you to go visit. People who are looking, that's where they were going. If you're clicking, I want to go look at homes today, they're a serious buyer. If they're out looking at open houses today, the quality of those people is dramatically higher, but the nurturing process and how we're going to get them to the finish line has dramatically changed.
Well, and to really add to that and accentuate that point, Colton, is we actually see lead conversion go up during tougher times because of what you just said. During times like this, if people are active on your website, they are looking at homes. It is not this fun, sexy, glamorous thing to go check out your home's value when the market's flat or maybe even gone down a little bit or only up a little tiny bit. That's not fun and sexy to be looking at.
Yeah.
And people that are looking right now, per what you just said, there's traditionally some type of desire to actually do something. There's more motivation. What that means, we have less lower motivated individuals coming through. So I actually get excited. I keep hammering to people, I hate the market from March 2020 to March 2022. I hated it because it required no skills.
Yeah,
we were all clumped in with a bunch of AFAs. All right. Average fucking agents. I'll break the seal on the swear words. We were lumped in. It was tougher for you to differentiate yourselves because guess what? They could go run and open a door a lot of times almost as quickly as you. What's really fun is during times of turmoil is where we see the great separation. It's where we see the great separate themselves from the AFAs. And when that separation happens, don't get me wrong, that first 6 to 12 months is painful. And that's where we're all at right now, right? You are being sorted right now into your businesses either dying or you're finding a way to thrive. And half of it is just simply the mindset to keep fucking going, to keep hitting your lead measures 100% of the time, no excuses. And by lead measures, it's focusing on what you can control. You can't control sales. You can't control someone buying a house. You can't control setting an appointment. But what you can control is what is the dang effort that you're putting in every single day to yield a result. And one of the biggest things that I've been really hot on is this idea of, I just call it shadow work. Okay. And one of the most toxic thing I think about society is we are fans of what I call mirror work. And that is the person that goes to the gym and every single time is posting on their stories on how they're at the gym every single time. It's the person that needs to see the instantaneous reward for the work they're putting in. The reality is the people I know that are massively ripped, the people that have earned the right to take those photos, they're the ones that are doing a stupid amount of work in the shadows, getting none of the recognition, putting in the work. Because Colton, how long did you have to work out before you saw actual gains in the gym?
I was like 125 pounds in high school, so we don't talk about those days.
It was a long time ago, right? People look at Mike Novak and they're like, man, the guy's so disciplined. And he's like, I've been doing this shit for 6 years now.
Yeah.
Right. And nobody looks at all the shadow work. So what happens is people see successful teams right now and they're like, look at them. They're doing so great, but they don't see all the damn work of the things that are going on behind the scenes. It's the idea of the iceberg, right? That only a little bit is above the water and the rest is underneath it. Nobody sees it. So I think the biggest thing is you have to be switching your mindset right now to this is one of the most massive opportunities for you all. You have to be hitting your lead measures 100% of the time. You have to be willing to do more to get less. I know, Colton, you heard Eric hammer that into your head. He's hammering into mine. I'm hammering into others. You have to be willing to do more to get less. But damn it, you also have to focus on getting better. And that's where I'm excited for today. We got to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's what we've been. And it's frustrating because you see the people that have this skill set and the ability, you see it, you know that they have it, But it's like the importance today, and it was something I'll never forget. The first time I had a coach tell me, like, how many conversations does it take for you to get a closing? And I looked at her like she was high. I was like, what are you talking about? I don't track that. I have no idea. Like right now, the name of the game, and a lot of agents don't you're not instantaneously going to be an amazing lead converter. I still consider myself garbage at it because I've surrounded myself with people like Robby who are so damn good that it's like there's so much room for growth and an ability to articulate the market and the ability to identify motivations and your ability to uncover the motivated in your pipeline. And it is not an instantaneous result. And how you mitigate against that decrease is you have more conversations, you set more appointments, you meet more appointments, you write more offers, you close more escrows, and you do it in a point to where you can do enough volume and frequency to where you can stay afloat and you can stay alive. So at the same time, you focus on improving your skill set, your understanding of the market, your ability to articulate it, and your ability to understand the solutions that can solve a buyer's pain points today, which is a ton. But how do you articulate that to a client? Because somebody who knows how I can get somebody 3 points below market value on an interest rate today, and then 2 points below that, and then it will go up 1% on year 2, and it'll go up 1% on year 3, and then on year 4. But there's all these programs out there, but your ability to sell it and connect somebody with how this would be a benefit is where everybody sucks. Yeah. Like I hear people being like, oh, well, we can get you a great interest rate and 3% below. And it's like, would you be interested in a strategy session? It's like, dude, what? You didn't connect the person at all or tell the story that's actually going to give them from where they're at today to where they need to be. And I know that's what you're going to touch on a ton today.
Yeah. So let's, if we're cool with it, Colton, let's dive in and feel free to add to this at any point you want to add stuff. Cause you say you're not great at lead conversion, but you're pretty damn good, buddy.
Thanks.
So let's start here. I think lead conversion can be broken down into 3 simple steps. And let's get rid of the word lead conversion for a moment. Well, let's talk what a lead is. A lead is simply a person. It is somebody with feelings, with fears, with needs, wants, desires, dreams, aspirations. And far too often we disconnect what a lead is. And it's a human just like you. And the reality is that I'm a firm believer that one of the greatest skills that you all have that you need to work on and embrace is empathy. I actually think empathy is your untapped superpower. It's the piece that allows you to anticipate and create stories that are going to be salient to other people. So lead conversion, right? People converting opportunities, helping people buy homes. There's 3 core parts. Number 1, I want everybody to write this down, is you have to be really good at learning people's truth. Number 2, you have to be an insanely honest truth teller. And then number 3, and we'll go back to these in a moment, but I want to make sure I get through them all. Number 3 is you have to be a really great storyteller. All right, let's talk about learning someone's truth. This is simply the biggest thing. Let's talk about this. There's 2 different phases to this. Let's talk about phase 1. Phase 1 is when somebody has literally no intention or motivation to give you any truth at all. Let's just remember this, right? When we are reaching out to leads, random people, cold calling a PPC lead, talking to a Zillow lead for the first time, it does not matter, or an expired lead. What is that person thinking of us? Is it that we're beautiful, that we're kind, that we're generous, that we're hardworking? Is it any positive words that they come up with when we call or text them?
No.
Hell no, right? It is, this person scares the shit out of me. They're icky. They are gross. They're annoying. And what happens is they have every incentive to run away, to peace out on you and dip out. So the reality is this, is that almost everybody at first that's going to be a quality opportunity, they're going to give you some form of no at first. Everyone needs to write that down. Almost every quality opportunity is going to give you some form of no at first. The reality is I'm seeing people handle that when someone gives you an objection. I'm seeing people handle that in 3 primary ways right now. All right. Number 1, the worst is you believe them when they say, oh, I'm just looking for fun, I'm not doing anything. You believe them. That is stupidity. And it's not the truth, friends. That is number 1. Stop doing it. Okay. Number 2 is something that works in different points of the conversation, but not here. And it's something I have preached and teached. It's the idea of tell me more. So the second way I see people failing to handle objections right now is they are using tell me more. So when people are like, yeah, I'm not going to do anything right now, interest rates are too high. Well, tell me more about that, Colton. I'm going to wait till the market crashes. Well, tell me why you think the market's going to crash. That doesn't work for the simple fact that their brain literally seeks out confirming information that creates more resistance. It slows people down even more. It makes them more afraid. The third way I'm seeing people handle objections, and this is a lot of y'all mother effers, all right? A lot of y'all, is you are debating people. You are trying to tell them that historically, these interest rates are really not that bad. The market's not going to crash. The world is not dying. This is not 2007, 2008. And you're trying to handle their initial objection by telling them they're wrong, right? That's what a debate usually ends up being, is you telling someone that they're wrong. And the problem is that this person, one, doesn't trust you, like you, or believe you yet. So the whole time you're blah, 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 they're thinking of all the damn reasons you're wrong. Mm-hmm. So it's actually worse than the second approach, which is they recall all the information that you're wrong and then emotionally want to freaking tell you off. So it creates a divide. Write down number 4. This is how you all can handle objections. It's very, very simple. You need to master the art of the pivot. Friends, whenever someone, one of your clients or someone is frustrated or has an objection, we have to be really, really good at pivoting. Now, there's something that's really funny. Pivoting doesn't mean that we just hear someone say something, completely ignore it, and move on to something else. Here's the equation you can write down for mastering the pivot. Number 1, or A, because I put a lot of numbers out there, A is acknowledge their answer. So Colton, you just say, yeah, I'm not doing anything, man. My interest rates are just too crazy.
Yeah.
I'm going to acknowledge, hey, Colton, I totally appreciate that. I see your perspective. Am I agreeing with you? No, but I'm acknowledging it. Here's why. If I don't do that, Colton feels like, man, this guy isn't listening to me at all. He's annoying. He's not hearing me. But I'm not going to feed that thought any energy, none at all. My next piece, right, part B of mastering the pivot is ask a motivation-themed question. So here's what it looked like. Colton throws out something like, well, I'm not doing anything. The market's too crazy. It's about to crash. Colton, I totally hear that perspective. Help me understand, though, what had you interested in potentially moving in the first place? Well, we were thinking about getting some more space because family's growing, but dude, interest rates are too crazy. We can't afford it right now. I want everybody to just take what I just said for a moment, right? This is how humans work, is they give you multiple answers. And what happens, Colton, is I say something like I just said. Yeah, we're thinking about getting a bigger home because my family is growing, but interest rates are too crazy. We're not doing anything right now. You know what a really stupid salesperson does right there? They try debating, or they believe, or they ask, tell me more. They focus on the objection, which was interest rates are too high. I'm not doing anything. A brilliant salesperson, brilliant influencers, all they do is they shine the light in a different place. They focus on different things. That different thing is, well, what was motivating you in the first place? When you're saying your family is growing, Colton, what do you mean by that? You see, Colton, if we go listen to most people's calls, what they do is they focus on the stupid shit. All right? Stop focusing on the stupid shit. Stop focusing on the objections. Anyone in here, parents? Anyone got kiddos? All right? Anyone ever had kids melting down in the middle of a department store, or Target, or Walmart over not getting a toy? Been there. Colton, it's crazy that for you, it's already been what? 10 years?
My daughter and I are going to be in a senior home together. For those that don't know, I had my daughter very, very young. So yeah, she turned 15 yesterday.
We're going to be in a senior home together. That's one of my favorite things I've ever heard.
Oh, it's the truth.
I don't know what that is saying about Tessa or maybe your longevity. I don't know. Anyways, we're back to things. The point is that when your kid's having a meltdown in the middle of a department store, the worst thing you can do is try to focus on them not getting what they wanted. You have to pivot around it. You have to acknowledge what they're feeling. Don't dismiss it. Because what happens when we feel dismissed? What happens? Truly think about this. What happens when we feel dismissed? What does it trigger in us?
Anger, frustration.
Yeah, resistance, frustration, or a feeling of loneliness. That's one of the scariest words for everybody. Okay, is loneliness. What happens when you dismiss somebody's thoughts or feelings? What I mean by that is literally paying no attention to it. And the balance here, when people are initially afraid, you need to realize that the difference between a lead who's a person who's afraid of the market or what's going on in the market or interest rates, there is no difference between that person and a kid melting down in Target besides height. Leads are just taller. That's it. There is no difference. Humans are humans. You see, what we have to do is we have to not dismiss, but we have to acknowledge to make sure people don't feel alone or disregarded. Because if you trigger that in people, who in here, think about this. This is how crazy how human beings are. When was the last time you all spent more than 7 days without seeing any human beings ever? Can anyone say that you have? That's what I figured. We are social creatures. The idea of lone, and I'm introverted as shit. Okay. Introverted as all hell. I would never leave my house. But
sorry,
being,
Tammy.
What was that?
I said, sorry to Tammy Crawford's office. I see a child in there. Just know you will hear words on this.
Oh, Mom. Thank you. Thank you, Colton. I did not know. My bad.
Earmuffs, sweetie.
Earmuffs. Or we're just giving you some words to add to your vocabulary early. Sorry, friend. Sorry, Tammy. The point behind this is that we can't just simply dismiss people's feelings. We have to be in it, acknowledge it, and then we ask a question about their motivation, other feelings, other desires. The reality is this, is that all leads, all people are always running away from something or running towards something. Running away or running towards. And the simplest thing, if you're going to take anything from what I've just said for the last few minutes, it's stop focusing on the stupid things, on the objections. Rather, circle back to what was motivating someone to begin with. By doing this, here's what you'll recognize is that a lot of times at first, those objections are being inflated. I want you all to recognize this. The fears of the market, interest rates, those things are being inflated because they don't want to talk to you. They don't want to talk to you because they're afraid of you. And what you'll know, or what you'll notice, is that as you go through the art of the pivot, you acknowledge their answer, you ask another motivated theme question. What you'll notice is that fear, like a balloon, deflates.
Yep.
And it starts to shrink. And what happens is their true motivation, other emotions come out. The pain point of their current situation, the pain point that their rent just went up 25% last year and they have no control and they're sick and tired of paying rent. The pain points of whatever they're running from or running towards. You have to get darn good at phase one, which is getting people to open up. Then phase two, and then Colton, I'd love for you to chime in. Phase two of learning someone's truth is now embracing the idea of tell me more. It's getting them to tell you more about the right things, not about their fear of interest rates or the market. It's more of tell me about your pain point, Zeus. Tell me about your current situation. What's frustrating about your current situation? Ask these types of questions, because what happens is their feelings come out. And friends, feelings in phone calls or text conversations, it doesn't matter. Here's how they go. Either one, they're stated. People will tell you, I'm feeling cramped, I'm feeling frustrated, I'm feeling excited, right? They're stated emotions, right? People will tell you them. Number two is implied emotions. Everybody should write that down. Stated emotion, implied. When it's stated, they've told you. When it's implied, you use that superpower of yours, which is empathy. Empathy is taking me out of my shoes and stepping into Colton's, doing my best to see things from his vantage point. And this is one of the most powerful things you can do when emotions have not been stated. Everyone needs to pay very, very close attention to this. When emotions have not been stated, when it's only implied, what you do is you take a stab at what they are feeling. You name the elephant in the room. Colton, I'm hearing that you guys are running out of space. If I had to guess, that's making you pretty frustrated. Is that fair to say? One of two things is going to happen here. Either Colton is going to agree that that's what he's feeling, right? Yeah, exactly, man. I'm frustrated as hell about this. I hate my current living space. Emotion is no longer implied, is it? It is now stated. Or even better, what happens is Colton tells me, nah, man, I'm not frustrated. I'm just disappointed. They correct you. What happens when they correct you? What type of emotion is it? Is it implied or is it now stated, right? And as long as you're not 180 degrees off, right? Imagine Colton's been saying that his landlord's kind of creepy. He feels really cramped. His rent went up 35%. And I say, Colton, it sounds like you really love your rental. And I'm not being sarcastic. I generally say you should avoid sarcasm generally in most calls. I come across as a sarcastic or out of touch, kids in the room, D-bag. Look at that. I censored myself a little bit.
Proud of you. Eric would be proud of us.
I know he would. He cusses more than me some days. So we just outed him. That was one of my favorite conversations with Ben Kinney's was about cuss words, but that's a story for a different day. The point here is that when we're going down this path, we name those emotions because it's those emotions that we're later going to utilize in the storytelling. Thank you. Appreciate that comment. You are true. But when kids are in the room, I try to filter myself. We try to take people's core feelings and motivations and tie it into the story. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Colton, what other things do you think people need to be doing to learn people's truths?
So I just want to point out and bring attention to things that took me more time than it should have, but that's the story of my life. These tiny little details and these tiny little nuances. Something that we've learned is we've scaled our agent count and we've scaled our leads and all this stuff, is you will discount each of these tiny little steps. And one of the biggest frustrations that you will face is the inability to weight each of these tiny little micro adjustments and understanding the true impact that it has on the end all conversion. And what we've noticed with our agents is they'll try something once or twice and it doesn't get them the result that we want. And you brought this up earlier about the gym reference. It's like you can, if you know you're trying to lose weight and you jump on a treadmill today, you run for 30 minutes, you look in the mirror and you go, shit, I look the exact same. Don't stop running on the treadmill, because you know that action over a sustained period of time with consistency and discipline is going to get you the result that you want. Everything we are talking about today is aimed towards getting an ultimate higher conversion. And I want to clarify a couple of misconceptions that we get on this, because people hear lead conversion like, oh, well, we're not an online lead company. We don't do Zillow. We don't do realtor.com. You do leads. If it's through an open house, if it's through geographic farming, if it's from sphere of influence, you have leads.
Can I add to that one more thing, Colton?
Please.
Do you have kids? Do you have spouses? This shit is all the same, just so you all know. Influence is influence. Yeah. So I just wanted to add that piece.
It's just these things that and again, we made this mistake and it's like, it doesn't work right away. So you stop doing it and revert to the same stupid shit that we as realtors have been taught by the big coaching companies of the world. These scripts, I laugh because you always hear people practicing them. I will pay anybody any amount of money to go up against any of those scripts versus an authentic, genuine appreciation for people, the conversation, and coming from an empathetic point of view. And the biggest problem that I see constantly is you can go say these same things, but if you don't give a shit about the answer that they give you, and if you don't allow that answer to influence the direction of the conversation, you can check the right boxes and not get the result. Like we hear new agents in our office doing it, and I want to be super clear here. There's levels of competency. And it's like the levels of competency for me have been by far the most influential thing. And there's unconscious incompetence. You don't know how bad you suck. And then we start calling leads and we realize, oh, damn, I'm pretty damn bad at this. That's conscious incompetency. So then we get to a point where we know what we're supposed to be saying, but we haven't internalized it to a point where it can be organic in the conversation. And it's like, you really have to go through the repetitions and the volume of this so you can truly be able to listen. Because when you're constantly just focused on what it is that you are supposed to be saying, you're not hearing the answers that are going to allow you to be a good converter. And it's because and Robby told me this a long time ago, and he proved it to me in person. And this was the first time we spent time together. It was this impactful, though I remember this conversation. Robby, I had a date with me in Mexico to this event that we all went to. Robby talked to her for probably an hour and 20 minutes. He asked her questions, but you would see Robby would only talk for maybe 20, 30% of the time, and then would just intake all the information she was giving. And this was the most impactful part. Of skip the hour and a half conversation. But in the end, she sent something about a problem that she had in her family. And Robby said, and it gave me chills when he did this, because I couldn't believe he genuinely cared this much to hear every word she said and truly be able to connect it to who she was as a person. And brought it back. He said, do you think that had to do with the relationship with your brother? Which was a comment made over an hour ago. He's listening. He's not asking questions just to check the fucking box. He's genuinely caring about the conversation he is having with someone. And as a result, was able to have such a profound impact in this conversation. Like, it made me realize what a total dog shit. Sorry for the way I'm talking. Hopefully that little girl's gone. It made me realize how terrible we are at connecting with human beings. And it's like, once we started working with Robby, you see the impact that these tiny little adjustments say. So it's like, as he gives you these, one, understand each of these little nuances is what's going to make you a good converter. These little nuances sustained for a prolonged period of time will make you an amazing business owner. You will have an amazing return on it. But you cannot discount the micro adjustments because it doesn't give you the result that you're looking for every single time. Because each of these little upgrades that he gives you, and in our world, we call this an upgrade. When he asks you that question and goes, well, I totally understand that and I appreciate it. Tell me, what had you looking at real estate in the first place? It gives him the ability to answer. Each of these pivots gives us the ability to upgrade these leads or these prospects within our pipeline. And sometimes you'll get through each of the pivots and you'll have a dead lead, which in that case, welcome to lead conversion. That's what we do for a living.
Yeah.
But people will skip it. So I just beg you guys, don't do what I did and take too long to understand the importance. Implement it and practice the living shit out of it, because you're going to suck. Yeah. But over time, you're going to get better and better and better. So continue to make the conversation, set the appointments, meet the appointments, write the offers, open escrows, close escrows. Do that with enough volume. You'll have enough success. But then you'll realize with that same amount of effort, all of a sudden you're closing double to triple the business.
And first off, Colton, I appreciate the kind words about that conversation. It's crazy that was coming up on 2 years ago now.
I will never forget that conversation, because it's when I was like, he is the master at this.
I appreciate it.
Or he was just trying to steal my date, one of the two. And
I don't remember her name, so definitely was not the latter. You know, I think I want to hit on two things real quick. Actually, three things. Number one is that, as you said, none of the tactics that we are teaching, none of the questions will work if you don't organically take a vested interest in doing good for other people. I think that I would take somebody who's not polished, who doesn't have the skills, who cares deeply, over somebody who masters every single checkbox and knows all the right questions, but doesn't give a shit. Because there is something about taking a vested interest in helping another person that is extremely powerful. And whether you call it a God moment, the universe, energy, I don't care. You have to give a shit. And if you don't give a shit, none of it's going to matter. Secondly, let's talk numbers. It's funny because when we talk about lead conversion, you hit on something, Colton, that people just give up because it doesn't work the first, second, or third time. Yeah. Well, friends, the reality is that I get to coach and mentor a lot of the top converting teams in the country, and they're converting PPC leads at 3, 4, 5%. They're converting Zillow leads at 10 to 20%, give or take, somewhere in that range. What that means is that the best in the game, right? The freaking best are not converting 95 to 96% of PPC leads. They're not converting 80 to 90% of Zillow opportunities. That's the best, right? In baseball terms, if you're a great baseball hitter, you're Aaron Judge, you're hitting 30% of the time. 70% of the time, you're not getting a hit. You might get on base, but you're not getting a hit, right? In lead conversion, it is, if you're the best, 3 to 5%. So you got to keep that into account. So I see people do that all the time. And Colton, you had failed to finish such a really fabulous idea, which is the idea of unconscious incompetence, which is stage 1. Yep. Stage 2 is conscious incompetence, which is you know how bad you are at something. You wake up to it. Stage 3, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's conscious competence. So you're good now, but it takes mental effort. And then phase 4 is unconscious competence. It's just natural. And Colton, I wanted to ask you, how do you think people get to phase 4? What do they need to be doing? Because fine, Danny, they're hearing all this, right? They're hearing us talk about it. How the hell do they maybe move from phase 2 to phase 3 and then phase 3 to phase 4? How would you?
Repetitions.
Okay. How do they get reps? How do they do it? And I love how simple you make it seem. It makes me so happy.
Do the calls, have the conversations. I mean, we overcomplicate the shit out of this. Have conversations, set appointments, meet appointments, write offers, open escrows, close escrows. That's it. That's all we got to do.
One more time for those that need to hear it for the crowd, because you speak quickly.
Well, it frustrates me because one, it took me way too long to figure it out. And again, people look at this and say it's online leads. Have conversations, set appointments, meet appointments, submit offers, open escrows, close escrows. That's the whole process. And Robby can have, I guarantee you, a quarter of the conversations as any of us on this call and close more deals.
Yep.
So it's paired with have conversations, set appointments, meet appointments, write offers, open escrows, close escrows, with the ability to learn and fucking master how to be a good agent. And you do that but through repetition. So as you have to make the 100 phone calls to get your one deal, as we do this enough for a prolonged period of time, the amount of volume that we have to do to obtain the same result gets less. But we just want this fast track, easy pill, super simple. How do we do it? What lead source do I have to pay for? And it doesn't exist because I can give you our best lead. Like there's people who just got cut off of all of our accounts. It's like we can have the same leads, the same systems, the same everything. If you don't know how to drive the damn car, you're not going to get good track times.
Can people role play their way into mastery?
No.
Why not?
Because role play, and you'll listen to this stuff. You can do our huddles, and we're guilty of this. Like you'll do the role play, and you'll be like, I'm really not interested. Well, did you know that interest rates are at an all-time da 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 da? And then the person you're role playing with is like, you know what? Damn it, you're right. That's not how any of our conversations today are going. So why the hell are we practicing like that? So role plays only work in a controlled environment, which I steal directly from you. And it takes real life practice, real life fuck ups, real life rejection. And that is the only thing that will help you get past this. But yet we're terrified of those rejections. We're terrified of those fuck ups. But it's like that is by far the most valuable coaching and education you can get.
In other words, it is once you get to stage 2, which is, hey, I need to get better at this. It's not, I'm going to go practice, and not get any real game time reps in. It is, you are practicing, no doubt about it. But the reality is your most massive growth, and I'm so glad you brought this up. Your most massive growth is going to go from you getting kicked in the damn face in real time. All right. This is a random side shoot, and I'll kick it back to you in a moment. Who in here is a fan of communism or socialism? Any of my friends are a fan? I can't see any hands. Anybody see any hands? You'd have to have some major courage here to raise your hand in this environment. Why is capitalism, albeit flawed? We can all agree capitalism has had its major ass flaws, right? Throughout history. We have left some groups behind. We have done some things to groups of people that is so fucked up. Yes. Why is capitalism a superior form of economics compared to socialism or communism? There's one simple reason. Feedback. It is. What is feedback in capitalism? Revenue and profit. What happens if you don't have revenue or profit? Friend, tell me, what happens if you all don't have revenue coming in or profit?
We have a business.
If you have it, you have a business. If you don't, you don't. What's fucked about communism or socialism? There is no feedback. None. It doesn't exist. And so what happens is improvements are not made, right? When we go look at and go study history in socialist or communist countries, i.e. go right now look at the beautiful Russian economy and the most pathetic military on the face of the earth for its size. Sorry, Vladimir Putin, I would fight you on your horse. You should go look at his photos of him shirtless on a horse. It is epic, my friends.
I have it on a poster.
Do you? You really should. It is pretty epic, man. You should throw darts at it. No, the problem with socialism and communism is it doesn't embrace feedback. Friends, how many of you right now are afraid to take action because you're afraid of failure? All failure is a form of feedback. Truly, like, you just have to get out there and do it. Here's what I've learned. The biggest growth opportunities have always come from me getting slapped across the face the hardest. It is me getting punched in the fucking face. Sorry, little kids' ears again, but it deserves it. It is those things where I'm like, holy crap, I need to wake up and reevaluate and think about this and learn from it and get better. It is feedback. Friends, it is feedback that will help you go from conscious incompetence to conscious competence. And then just more repetition is what leads to unconscious incompetence. The only reason I can sit here and talk about this for days is because it is literally all I did for 2.5 years of my life on the ground with leads. Before that, I did it for about 1.5 years, 80 hours a week in political campaigns, which is far less popular than sales. And then since then, I talk about this shit in role play. And friends, what do you think everybody does if they ever role play with me? They always play the obnoxious a-hole who is impossible to convert. So if you all want to get better, okay, if you want to get better and you want to get better quicker, fail more often, real world, let it hit you. And then secondly, stop playing soft in your freaking role plays.
Yep.
Don't be kind to each other because you're not being kind. You're limiting each other's growth. I see so many people who have something to say, but they're unwilling to say it. One of my favorite people to role play with is a guy named Jason on Mike Novak's team, Mike Novak's ISA, because the dude is absolutely cutthroat in giving feedback. You all need to be truth tellers in your feedback. You need to be wanting it and seeking it out. You should be looking for the pieces for you to get better. If you're doing role play because you want validation, you are screwed. You're done. That's not how you get better.
Dude,
if you're not failing in role play, you're shit.
We had somebody today in a role play, and she might actually be on the call, and she was brand new. And I felt bad because she wasn't prepped. And it's like, you can use the wrong approach and we will tell you, and there's going to be coaching and constructive criticism. Yep. And it's like, sometimes you'll see a new person come in and they look at you and you don't let the bullshit objection handlers win. They'll look at you and be like, oh, that was harsh. It's like, no, that's reality.
That's life.
Go use this today. It will not work. I want to go through so we can make sure to get the takeaways.
Yep. You're good. Yep.
Your pivots. So the guys, these pivots that he just said, like, it literally is going to go through. And today, I wish I knew the real numbers on this, so I'm going to say it super confidently. No, it's total bullshit, but I promise it's got to be somewhat close. I promise you can use these pivots on probably at least 85 to 90% of people. And at the end of the day, the consumer is still going to be fearful. They're still not going to be committed. They're still going to be on the fence. And you're not going to pluck them off on that initial phone call.
Yep.
One of the biggest problems that we've had in the past is we had a mindset. We did a whole webinar on this. Top grade your pipeline, find the motivated, find people who are willing to submit 12% over ask, find the people with healthy down deposits who are willing to waive the appraisal, cut the inspections. Like, there's so many leads, so many opportunities. You got to top grade it and only focus on the ones you can help, because everybody else, unfortunately, you just don't have the bandwidth to help them.
Yep.
Okay, shit's changed.
Yep.
Now we're back in this mindset of, how do I make sure that when this person says no, 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 how do we set ourselves up to be able to add a value-based deposit that is going to allow us to keep in contact with them without doing the bullshit that everybody is doing of, hey, how's your home search going? What do you mean? I told you I'm not having a home search because I'm terrified of the market. Like, that's the type of follow-ups that people are doing. So I want to walk through some of the pivots that you do and that you teach so everybody can write them down and actually implement them. Yep. And then add the one that we as an office and in our coaching call added. And it has been so impactful for us in our conversions, because what Robby said of this balloon being inflated, over time, those fears deflate. And what we have to make sure we do is stay in communication long enough with these people so that we can capture them as the fear deflates. We have to make sure that we are coming and staying in touch with them in a way that doesn't go, hey, how's your home search going?
To answer that question, for me, it's what had you interested in real estate in the first place? Everybody should write that simple question down. It is like the generic go-to. What had you interested in real estate to begin with? What had you interested in potentially making a move to begin with? What had you interested in homes to begin with? Something along those lines. That's like the generic version. From that point, I think what you should be pivoting towards is using their words. Because people, what I've noticed is humans give you little subtle opportunities. They give little things like, yeah, we were kind of thinking about getting a bigger house. We're kind of thinking about upgrading our home. We're kind of thinking of buying our first home, right? So they give you little tiny insights. And then what they do is they walk it back. Yeah, we were thinking about doing this, but we're not going to do anything anytime in the near future. We're going to be holding off, right? They go down those pathways. So the second thing, art of the pivot, is focusing and shining light on, okay, well, I heard you say that you were thinking about getting a bigger home. Tell me a little bit about that. I want everybody to write that down. Tell me a little bit about that. Shine the light on those things. The third one, Colton, I want you to chime in on what you guys came up with, because I think it's brilliant. I think it's really good.
Yeah. So in these, like what we've been trying to do is just upgrade. So tell me more about what you were looking for. And people are like, well, we're looking for this, this, and that. And when we listen to them, we find out what this, and that is. This is something we stole from Robby. And it's like, okay, well, if I were able to find you this, and that, would you want to take the opportunity to would you want to look at it, or would you miss out on that opportunity? And then a lot of people will say, like, forgive me, let me speak realistically. Some people will say, yes, I'd be interested in taking a look at that. The same people who just told you they're not doing shit will tell you yes to that answer. So now you have the ability to dive deeper into what they're looking for, because we're just trying to simply upgrade and identify the motivated in our pipeline. But the majority of people, if we're honest today, are like, you know what? No, honestly, the affordability, the interest rates, the monthly payment, it's not an option for us. And it's like Robby discussed, and what a lot of people will do is like, well, you know, I'm going to use Jennifer because I can see her. You know, Jennifer, the vast majority of economists, which, by the way, listen to the tones of these economists, they have changed from what they were 3 months ago. Like it is rapidly changing, but I hear agents doing it. You know, the vast majority of economists are predicting that home values are going to do nothing but increase. And it's like, fuck off. That's not going to work. They're not going to listen to a stranger. They're not going to change their opinion based on your opinion. Your crystal ball doesn't work better than theirs does. So at the very end, like, people have an ability and they have a reason to be fearful. Do not ignore it. Don't make them feel stupid. Don't tell them that, well, you cannot, that stupid date the rate, marry the home bullshit that agents are saying. It is so dumb. And it's not going to earn you any business with anybody. Yes, we understand that they can refinance. Yes, we need to have options and tools that can identify pain points, because for a select few, that will actually help. And yes, we do need to have it. But what we need to allow to happen is that inflated fear, that emotion from your pissed off toddler or your pissed off spouse, that when they're wrong but furious, the worst thing you can do is battle their emotion with your logic.
Yep.
It will fall on deaf ears every single time, and you got to wait for the fear to dissipate. You got to allow that balloon to deflate. And so we simply ask one question. Robby, I totally understand there's a lot of dust in the air and it's got a lot of people fearful. When the dust starts to settle and you start becoming more confident in the direction of the market, would you consider revisiting your home search? The only thing you are trying to do in these fucking conversations is find out and identify who is motivated. And it is not hard to do. But we're using the same stupid bullshit approach that does not work. And then you blame the leads, you blame the systems, you blame the market. And it's your inability to fucking listen to somebody and let them feel what they want to feel and connect so that then from there, you can nurture these people and develop trust. Because I promise you, when you are the salesperson that talks to them and doesn't try to sell them, and you simply be an advocate who's trying to give them the information they need so that when they're ready, they can make an informed and educated decision, you win every fucking time. But when you're the jackass who gets on and makes them feel stupid for being fearful of a market, which, by the way, you all are fearful of, you're not going to convert.
Yeah.
And I get so mad over this because we all use the same stupid approach. And it's like, from there, what do you do with them? We tag them as scared in the pipeline. We do not archive them because we just know that a lot of these people, does everybody here agree? Most of you showed up with bags on your head to this meeting today. But for those of you with the camera on, by a raise of hands, do you think that as time progresses, more people will digest these normal? I appreciate you people that just turned on. You guys are awesome. Do you believe more people are going to be able to digest these rates? Yes, but you got to let the fucking balloon deflate and put yourself in a position that when it does, you're going to be the jackass who wasn't a jackass that earned the privilege of being the person they use when that time comes. What you need to do is listen, tag them as scared. And what we are doing is going through Keeping Current Matters. We are going through what Stephen Thomas, he's an economist here in Southern California who for 8 years has been pinpoint accurate on everything that happens. So we use his articles and we follow up and we say, hey, Robby, I just read this article and it reminded me of the conversation. It reminded me of our conversation last month. I wanted to provide this and see what your thoughts are. Or I wanted to just send you this information. Let me know if you have any questions. It's just a deposit. It's not going to work right away, but we need to make enough of those deposits consistently enough for a prolonged period of time that so when Robby is less fearful, Robby goes, you know what? Colton wasn't a dick. Maybe I'll use Colton. But I promise you, the ones who are falling back up and going, hey, just want to check in and see how your home search is going.
Yeah, it's you're spot on. It's what we're seeing so many people do wrong, and they've always done this wrong, is we think that we can pressure somebody into doing something into a $100,000, $200,000, $500,000, $1 million decision. Yeah. And the reality is that, friends, it's really funny because we all technically work in sales. If I asked you all who works in sales, every single one of you all would raise your hands. And the funny thing is, unless you are building homes, none of y'all work in sales. We are in a service industry. And the reality is this, is that really great lead conversion on top of everything we talked about today comes down to 1, learning somebody's truth, 2, speaking truth. You can absolutely speak truth, and it's very easy. Hey, Colton, can I be honest with you, man? Clear up the bullshit that people have in their minds, because people think a lot of stupid things about real estate. There's a lot of misconceptions. Clear it up. You can speak truth about misconceptions. No doubt about it. You can follow up with opportunities. But finally, the last thing that I'll say is this, is you got to connect their needs, wants, desires, their problem with you creating the solution. You have to be a really, really great storyteller. You can't be like, hey, do you want to come in for a strategy session to create a game plan? That shit will never work, as you said earlier, Colton. But if I say, well, Colton, what I've heard you say is that if that perfect home came on the market sometime soon, it's something that you would want to consider viewing. Is that fair to say, Colton?
Yeah.
What I got to tell you is, in this kind of changing market, what I've done to help people like you is I've had them swing in our office for a quick strategy session. And Colton, the whole point is very simple. It's to create a game plan for you. That way, when that perfect home comes on the market that checks all those boxes that you've been talking about, you at least can get in there and view it. Not saying you need to purchase it, but you can get in there and view it. Is that something you'd find some value in, Colton?
Yeah, we'd be open for that.
It's just simply what you do. You intertwine their needs, wants, desires. You shouldn't be coming up with your own original shit. Simply reflect back what they've been saying to you, friends. Use what is motivating them to motivate them.
Can I put I want to put a flashlight on the little nuance there that you're going to do 10 times better than any jackass coach out there, because I hear it every single day.
Yep.
Robby, what would work better for you? Tomorrow at 2 or today at 3?
Fuck that.
Oh,
fuck it. I hate it so much.
What he did was use his herd effect and said, what we've done to help a lot of clients like you is sit down, Would that be beneficial for you in your home search? Is that something that you would find value in? He waits for me to agree and say yes. And it goes, fantastic. When would you be available to get together?
And the science behind that is when somebody says, yeah, I think so, or yeah, I'd find some value in that. That doesn't commit them to anything. They're just giving you their opinion on, I think I'd find some value in that.
Yep.
That's it. So, and it doesn't seem like a big macro push.
It's so easy to use, but it takes a ton of practice. I still think I suck at it when I listen to Robby, because he's just so damn good and it's organic and it's natural, but it's because he's done this and coached our team and every other team. He's an incredible coach. And Robby, I love you, because it has had such a profound impact on our team's conversion, our ROI. Like, it's all we need to be focused on is this conversation. Fuck every other objection. Are you working with the list? Are you the listing? None of the other objections today matter. So stop practicing those with your agents. Practice this until they fucking master it, because it's going to be the one thing that pulls them through and gets them to the other side of this. One thing I liked, I heard John Cheplack recently said, he goes, there's a light at the end of the tunnel and it's a fucking train. And I thought it was so fun. And he said it a year ago, and that's where we're at today. We need to be able to connect further down the road so that we can add value to these people. I've got 2 last things. I always like to make sure you guys have some takeaways on this. Robby, is there anything else you want to add?
Just a little value piece. I haven't even told you this yet, Colton, but we'll be doing a lead conversion boot camp. 1 day, 4 hours, going super, super deep into this in December. So we'll make sure to get you information, Colton, and then you maybe get out to these people. So
I'll share it with you guys if you want to do it. I do all of these. They're unbelievably impactful. One thing that we are definitely trying to coach to right now is that we just got to stop doing dumb shit. Success and growth in the market made a lot of us look really special. A lot of us were doing our social media posts with our cape saying, look, I sold this house for $1 million of draft price. Well, notice agents have put their capes away. All of a sudden, not superheroes. It's like, we have to be more intentional with our time. And it's like, with our team, what we're coaching to is, 1, do not confuse follow-up with prospecting, because it is the reason why we have so inconsistent of sales and pipelines. You truly need to be relentless on having more conversations than what you've ever had, and not confuse prospecting with the maintenance of your existing pipeline. So we have a rule. Prospecting is only for people who you have never met. That means you do not answer a phone call from a client during that time. I wish I could have a paintball gun without getting sued. And every time I see somebody answer their phone call, I'd shoot their hand with it. Why are you answering that phone call in the time that is dedicated to feeding your fucking family in the future? And it is that serious today, guys. Why are you answering your phone call and allowing other things to interrupt your goddamn priorities? Well, Colton, I'm answering a phone call for one of my buyers. That is maintenance, and you have time scheduled for that. If you are on a listing appointment today, would you answer that phone call as you are talking to me, ready to secure a contract? The answer is no. So why is it, for the one time that it's guaranteed to create 12 or 13 more of those appointments for the rest of the year, that you will allow that to interrupt, because you are the only person there that's able to hold yourself accountable, and we fucking suck at holding ourselves accountable. You wouldn't answer in front of a client because a client's going to hold you accountable to their expectation of your professionalism. That time needs to be sacred. The time you spend prospecting, reaching out to people who you have never met, putting your hand into the pipeline and pulling people through to the Met status is your one and only fucking priority from now until this bullshit's over. And you better not stop it then either, but you will, because the market's going to start feeding us again. Set appointments and create appointments with people who you have never met. That does not count sending listings, writing offers. There is time for that. It is not prospecting.
Yeah, dude, you're on fire. I'll add one piece. People keep asking, do I need to do more lead, and we separate lead generation versus lead follow-up, right? You just name lead generation. Lead generation's creating opportunities you don't have yet.
Yep.
You don't need more time of it often. You know what you all need to do is actually fucking do it and be disciplined to do it consistently. Cut all that shit out. Be done. It's that simple.
Yeah.
And then we'll see you in a year. For the rest of y'all that refuse to do this shit, bye.
It's right now too. Just one last little text that we use. Like, none of you guys need more fucking leads at all. Most of we just don't. We have thousands of them that sit in there. We use a text. Robby, if you have any, please go use this because it really, really, really works. Booney, what's the favorite one that we got the highest response on? While he's thinking of that. It's something along the lines of, hey, Robby, it's Colton. Hey, I was just trying to update my notes and I didn't see. Did you end up finding the home you were looking for, or are you still looking?
Mm-hmm.
Don't change it. Do it exactly like that. Don't fucking change a word, please. Hey, Robby, this is Colton. Hey, I was checking back in you. I was trying to update my notes. Did you end up finding the home you were looking for, or are you still looking? And then people will be like, but they never talked to me before and I'm calling out of a lead pond. And what they do not remember. They do not care. They never ask. They don't know if they've never talked to you before. It doesn't matter. Get the response. And when they're like, nope, no longer looking, then you go back into it. Well, what had you looking at real estate in the first place? And you just go revitalize life back into your pipeline. You all can grow. I believe this fucking firmly, and you can timestamp this and talk to us in a year. I still think we're going to grow by another 100% because we're going to be methodical about converting half of the leads that our laziness failed to convert over the last 2 to 3 years. We can be more effective with less, but we got to be more skillful. We got to be more intentional, and we got to give a shit about the people we are talking to.
I wish we could do this every day.
Not me. My fucking blood pressure's up.
Robby, was it you that told me or you told us in North Dakota, I think it was, I love texting you, you don't like texting me back, or was that somebody else out there?
I honestly don't remember 75% of the things I say. So
yeah, I tried that one the other day. That did not go very well.
Yeah, Mary, I love you. Mary wrote a comment in here that everybody should pay attention to. I did a control test with your text of 150 leads, 26 responses, and 7 of those bought a house. And guys, that's just part of it. We get discouraged by it. But when people say, no, I'm not looking, they're fucking lying. They're not ready today. They don't know you, like you, or trust you, and they're not going to expose their motivations. You got to follow up long enough, consistent enough, and with enough value. And Mary does that. And she still had 26 people that do it. We need to be more intentional. We need to nurture. We have been so fed by being able to get the low-hanging fruit. That low-hanging fruit is gone. It's climbed higher up in the tree. And if you don't learn to climb, you're going to fucking starve.
100%.
All right, guys. Thank you so much, Robby. Love you, brother. Everybody go implement and fuck shit up.
I love it. Talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.